Now on CoastTV News.
Big moves in Georgetown. What project is moving forward and what is on pause? An update on Rehoboth's new beach patrol when the city is meeting on it this week.
And as the temperatures continue to tumble into the teens in the morning hours, we'll also watch out for dangerous wind chills.
Bird flu continues to spread on Delmarva. The latest warnings from agriculture officials.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
The city of Milford is hours away from deciding how it handles marijuana. Good evening. I'm Madeline Overturf. Thank you for staying up with us after Sunday Night Football. We begin tonight with the latest town to tackle the drug. Monday, the city of Milford is considering a new rule to manage marijuana businesses in the city. City Council will hold a public meeting on Monday to discuss the proposed rule. Now, this would update the city's zoning code to include marijuana businesses like stores that sell it, places that grow it, and facilities that make marijuana products. This new rule would set specific guidelines on where and how these businesses can operate. If that rule is approved, it takes effect 10 days later. And here's the way Milford has been leaning after recent public hearings. It would allow marijuana stores in highway commercial zones, but they must be 500 feet from schools, neighborhoods, and downtown businesses. It also allows for compassion centers, which are nonprofits that distribute medical marijuana to patients and their caregivers. It could get more expensive in Bethany Beach. According to Thursday's Budget and Finance Committee agenda, the committee will discuss proposed parking and water fee increases. There is no word yet on what those fees would be. The committee meets Thursday at 10 there in Bethany. Plans for 90 townhomes in Lewis go back in front of planners this week. Developers want to build 90 townhomes plus amenities off Savannah Road called Overfall Preserve. This is footage from last November when there were multiple hearings about it. The Lewis Planning Commission will hear it once again on Wednesday, and many people wanted DelDOT to conduct a traffic study on the area before continuing with the project.
First of all, you got the high school right there, number one. Second of all, it's one of the major routes to get to our hospital, okay? And then a big concern is during the summer when you have all the tourists, they're already not really in tune with the local traffic patterns, and this is just going to make it even more complicated.
The Lewis Planning Commission meets Wednesday night at 6:30. This week, the city of Lewis will once again consider a proposal to eliminate parking on part of Savannah Road. One nearby business says they feel singled out by this potential decision. CoastTV News reporter Emma Aiken shows us why Lewis Brewing Company says this feels unfair.
Cyclists riding through the city of Lewis. Right now they have their own lane on Savannah Road, but as you head toward Drake Knoll Road, it becomes what's called a sharrow, where bicyclists and cars share the road. The city is now discussing whether or not they should put no parking signs in the area. But Lewis Brewing Company owner David Jones says this is where his customers park.
I think it's going to dramatically impact our business as a whole.
DelDOT is saying they strongly recommend this lane remains dedicated to bikes only, but people on the opposing side say this lane is 13 feet wide, so there's room for cars to park and bikers to bike at the same time. But the brewery argues that's what the bike path right next door is for.
I feel like we're being singled out. The area that they want to put no parking signs up on both sides of the road is within walking distance of our brewery. They're not going further down Savannah Road heading east. There are businesses on that end. There's cars that park along the road on both sides.
Others cited concerns about emergency vehicles being able to get through Savannah Road safely if cars are parked on both sides. For CoastTV News, I'm Emma Aiken.
Now, the no parking signs are a recommendation from DelDOT, but the city of Lewis has final say, and council is discussing this on Monday. New tonight, according to town documents, Millsboro has considered a resolution to formally request DelDOT help with traffic in town. A line item in a town agenda says this request would be immediate. Now, it's not clear yet if Millsboro did go forward with this or not. New tonight, site work on the new family court in Georgetown has paused due to bad weather. That's according to the town manager's report to town council. The report says site work has stopped until temperatures get above freezing. Also in Georgetown, Monday night, council is set to vote on the purchase and sale of this property on University Drive to build the new police station and public works building. This is near Del Tech. Town documents list the sale price as $1.1 million. Voters approved an up to $18 million project in a referendum last fall. Tandem parking just got easier for locals in Ocean City. Private homes and condos will have the ability to stack 2 cars back to back if they have enough space. Coast TV News reporter Kevin Zappe shows us how these rules could change the parking situation during the busy season.
Right now, you could basically park anywhere in Ocean City, but during the summertime, that's a different story. With an iconic beach, major festivals, and big events, there just aren't enough spots.
It gets real busy during the summertime. You can ride around for blocks trying to find a parking space.
Cars end up parked along the street, and the town wants to cut down on that. This week, the Ocean City Council approved the second reading, which will allow an easier ability for private homes and condos to do tandem or stacked parking, which gives private homes and condos the ability to stack 2 cars back to back, which would block the front car from getting out. Before this change, people and businesses who were looking to add tandem parking to their property had to go through the Board of Zoning to get it approved. But now, all they have to do is follow the guidelines put in place. Depending on the area you want to use tandem parking will determine how many feet you need for it to be allowed. For example, if you have a single garage with a 10-foot high ceiling, you will need to have at least 11 feet wide and 20 feet long for tandem parking to be allowed. Kyle Atwell likes the idea of tandem parking, but hopes it doesn't cause problems.
If the condo owner knows who's going to park them in, I think that's okay. Otherwise, I think it would be quite a complicated situation.
The town of Ocean City hopes these changes will free up more parking spaces during the summertime. I'm Kevin Zappe in Ocean City, Coast TV News.
We have more on this story and other changes in OC right now on CoastTV.com. Worcester and Somerset County Public Schools say they were impacted by a recent cybersecurity breach, which involved their student information system, PowerSchool. The schools say compromised data included social security numbers, medical information, and mailing addresses. PowerSchool told Worcester County that they informed the FBI and hired a cybersecurity firm to assist in addressing the data breach. The company will also provide credit monitoring and identity theft protection services for those affected. New tonight, the city of Rehoboth Beach will get an update on the Beach Patrol project. In November, when this footage was taken, the city considered spreading the increased cost of the Beach Patrol building over several years, rather than the initial plan to fund it within 2 budget cycles. It was about $550,000 over budget then. We'll find out more when the city meets this Friday. Tragic news out of Camden. The fire marshal confirms a child has died after being pulled out of this fire on Tuesday. This is in Camden, Wyoming. The fire marshal says the child succumbed to injuries from the fire this past weekend. All poultry-related sessions at Delaware Ag Week have been canceled due to bird flu. The Department of Agriculture says this decision follows the 2 positive tests of flocks in Kent County. Attendees of Ag Week are being asked to not wear clothing or shoes that have been in or around poultry or wild birds. And we're learning more tonight about bird flu cases on Delmarva. First, we'll take you to the eastern shore of Maryland. The Maryland Department of Agriculture says within the past few days, snow geese have tested positive in Dorchester and Worcester counties. Positive cases were also found at a commercial poultry plant in Caroline County. Now, the virus spreads easily among birds through nasal and eye secretions and manure. The Maryland Department of Agriculture says the virus is especially dangerous for birds because in most cases they will die.
You have a farm and you've got 100,000 birds on there. Once they get the disease and you start losing them, one, you're losing your livelihood and your product, right? And you don't want to infect other birds, and you certainly don't want to infect your neighbor's farm and things like that. So,
bird flu spreads easily from flock to flock through wild birds' contact with infected poultry, and even by equipment and the clothing of shoes and caretakers. And because of that, that is why all those poultry events have been canceled at Delaware Ag Week. Because also the virus has been detected in snow geese in Prime Hook and 2 broiler flocks in Kent County. Despite the cancellations, many other Ag Week events will proceed as planned, with attendees encouraged to follow preventative measures.
Do everything you possibly can from a biosecurity standpoint to protect your flocks, and be mindful of your shoe wear and your hand washing, and not allowing anything to get close to your flock that potentially could have had contact with something that could be contaminated.
Now, Ag Week asks all poultry producers to wear that clean clothing. And here are the symptoms of bird flu if you're not familiar. Respiratory illness, swelling of the eyes, neck, head, and even purple discoloration, chickens twisting their heads and necks, and having soft misshapen eggs, among other typical signs of illness. Now, anyone who suspects an outbreak in their flock is asked to contact the state immediately. Monday morning on Coast TV News, tune in for live coverage as Delaware kids go back to school after 3 weeks off. What does all the unexpected snow mean for their calendar? And then coming up Monday evening, a legacy restaurant changes hands. The future of Warren Station in Fenwick Island.
Mornings for the next few days in a row will be chilly, and it will be clear, and it will be clearly chilly for the whole week long. More on your full forecast, and bundle up as all that's coming up.
And making Ocean City safer, measures taking place this week. Don't go anywhere. We're back in just 60 seconds.
I want you to think of this week more so about how it's going to feel, not necessarily how it's going to look, because the look is going to stay the same. The streets have been plowed, so that's going to be helpful. A lot of the schools are going to be delayed with their opening, so be sure you tune in to our newscast in the morning time to find out if your school is going to be one of the ones that are going to be 1, 2, however many hours delayed. But as you take a look with a live shot outside in Milford, the grassy areas, they're going to stay snow covered because we have nothing close to the thermodynamic or heat energy that would be needed in order to melt any of this away. Thanks to the diligent work of folks from DelDOT, that's cleared out nicely for us. But it's going to be cold and windy, or windy or cold, tomato, doesn't really matter. For example, a gale wind watch is in effect around the Cambridge area. We're bracing for about 30-mile-per-hour winds there. But it's not just there. It's going to be extremely breezy on the beaches. From Bowers to Slaughter to Broadkill to Lewis beaches, we have the gale wind watch in effect until 6 o'clock for Wednesday. Now, along the Sussex County coast, that Wednesday concern is going to reach for Rehoboth as well as Dewey Beach down towards Ocean View, Bay Park, and then Fenwick Island. We also have an extended gale wind watch until 10 o'clock for Wednesday from Ocean City all the way down towards Chincoteague. Temperatures in the 30s and 20s right now and staying there at this present time. Now, just to kind of give you a feel as to how things are going, we're looking for temperatures by the afternoon. It's going to feel like 32 degrees if we're lucky. Now, the temperature will be in the 40s, but it will feel like the 30s. And then for Tuesday afternoon, we're looking at the teens. This is in the afternoon when it's supposed to be warm. And then you saw that one, I hit the clicker a little bit too much, but that's what happens when you do live TV, right? But anyway, what we're looking at, temperatures by Thursday morning, 3 in Ellendale, Georgetown, Milton, and Millsboro, 2 in Selbyville, 5 Dewey Beach. That's the kind of cold we're going to be dealing with till we kind of come out of it a teeny tiny bit by the time we get to Thursday. So by Monday afternoon, temperatures in the 40s, remember, feeling like freezing, going to the late evening hours. So we'll dip into the 20s briefly, then we'll bounce back into the 30s by Tuesday lunchtime. But you'll notice we'll stay pretty clear. We're going to look at perhaps a quick little flurry may kind of float through quickly. But the main feature that we have to be mindful and watchful for is dealing with that cold. We're in the 30s, for example, late Monday, going into Tuesday, we're going to dip into the 20s briefly in the morning, back into the 30s by the afternoon. A flurry floats through quickly on Tuesday, not enough to really fuss about, but it might get there. But as you take a look at your 7-day forecast, I want you to keep this in mind. Cold like crazy, but look at this. Wednesday morning, 18, Thursday morning, 16, and if we're lucky, we'll warm back to 25, Maddie, by Friday morning.
All right, Paul, thank you. The Delaware Supreme Court has denied an appeal for the man convicted of brutally murdering a Del Mar police officer. Randon Wilkerson argued he unknowingly used bath salts instead of meth before attacking and ultimately killing Del Mar officer Keith Hecook. Wilkerson, who was sentenced in 2023 to multiple life sentences, claimed an involuntary intoxication defense. However, the court said no, pointing out that Wilkerson said he knowingly consumed other illegal drugs, including meth, cocaine, and heroin. Ocean City is tackling pedestrian and cyclist safety this Tuesday from 5 to 7 at the Convention Center. The Maryland State Highway Administration is holding a workshop on the issue. It is specifically about safety improvements on Coastal Highway between 15th and 67th Streets. At the meeting, you can hear about the project and give your feedback there in Ocean City. Still to come on Coast TV News, check your direct deposit. The new taxes for practically, but not all Delaware workers right now. If you work in Delaware, you might want to check your paycheck a little closer. Some people are seeing a 0.4% reduction in pay as part of a new paid family medical leave program. It's being implemented after the General Assembly passed legislation in 2022 requiring companies of a certain size to offer paid family leave. It would be for things like having a child, combating a serious illness, or caring for a sick family member. The new law ensures paid family leave, specifically up to 80% of wages, capping at $900 per week. But as you can imagine, no matter the reason, not everyone is excited about paying more taxes.
Just feel that we need more money in our paycheck and less out, because they take so much out now, and where I don't have any independence, so I don't get that much back.
If you work in Maryland, a similar program is set to take effect there come July 1st. We have a breakdown on both programs right now. Just head over to CoastTV.com. The firestorm in Southern California stretches into its 6th day. At least 16 people have died, and officials fear that number will rise as more than 105,000 people remain under evacuation orders. Lee Waldman shows us how officials are now concerned the strong winds will threaten progress the firefighters have made.
Multiple fires still raging across much of Southern California. Of the 6 fires that broke out, 4 are still active. Combined, they've destroyed nearly 40,000 acres. Entire communities reduced to rubble.
It was just devastating.
The Antonori family lost their home in the Pacific Palisades fire. Everything is gone, they said, including the ashes of their late daughter, who passed away when she was just 1 year old.
Every piece of physical evidence of her life is just gone, and that hurts.
Red flag warnings in effect through Wednesday as wind gusts pick up. The fire danger level is critical for much of the region.
These winds, combined with low relative humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in Los Angeles County very high.
More than 3,000 firefighters are fighting the blazes in Los Angeles County, according to officials. Saturday, 72 fighters from Mexico arriving to help fight the flames.
We're looking to get as much resources as we possibly can.
At least 10,000 structures have been damaged or destroyed. Many families now returning to find their homes gone, hoping to salvage whatever they can.
Can't really stand by. The only thing to do is move forward and help others keep what they have.
In Los Angeles County, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
And new tonight, the state's governor signed an executive order which should help rebuild quicker. The order will suspend permitting and review requirements under the California Environmental Quality Act and the California Coastal Act. After the break here on Coast TV News, a farming town hall in Lewis, the specific history being reviewed and why. And later, we all want to save money, right? 4 ways to get fiscally fit in 2025. The Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice is hosting a town hall called Black Farmers in Sussex County. The alliance says Lewis and Sussex County have a rich history in black communities such as Belltown and Jimtown. This town hall will review that and feature a longtime generational farmer. This is all Tuesday, January 14th from 6:30 to 8 at the Lewis Library. One of the most popular resolutions is to get better with money. And Ivan Rodriguez shows us 4 tips and tricks to work out your wallet and get fiscally fit.
If your New Year's resolution is to get your finances in better shape, it's going to take a little sweat.
It's a little like working out physically in the gym. You're working out for your finances, so they are in better shape for the activities that you'll be prioritizing and targeting in the future.
Much like staring down the treadmill, overcoming financial hurdles may seem daunting. But Bankrate's Mark Hamrick says it's important to figure out where you are and create a roadmap to get to where you want to go.
Have a budget to know how much money we have to work with. If we need to reduce our expenditures and perhaps get rid of some things that we're paying for that we don't need, we need to do that.
The best way to get started, attacking your debt, typically in one of two ways.
Some people like to attack the highest cost debt. Let's say if we have an annual percentage rate of 25% and that's the highest, some people might prefer to attack that first to pay that down and off. Others might say, oh, well, I've got just a couple $100 on this credit card. Let's pay that off right away.
Next, pull back spending by cutting out expenditures you may deem unnecessary, like auto-pay subscription services and meal deliveries. And then focus on saving.
Have a separate account for your savings and then automate the deposits that are going in there with direct deposit. Have it come straight out of your paycheck.
And don't forget about retirement. Putting away a little now can leave you in great financial shape in the future. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Hamrick warns even as you see the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, you can expect credit card rates to remain elevated. But he says if you prioritize debt repayment, you can bolster your credit score and set yourself up for less expensive borrowing down the road. After the break here on Coast TV News, a new era at the Today Show. A behind-the-scenes look at Craig Melvin's incoming gig next.
Now, the days will be bright, but they'll also be brr. I'll explain what the BRRRRR is all about.
After the week-long farewell for Hoda Kotb, the Today Show introduces its new co-anchor on Monday. But the new face is also a very familiar one. Mark Barger traces the career path that brought Craig Melvin to Studio 1A.
One thing has been constant. It's Hoda Kotb.
Among the myriad of signs last week for today's departing co-host, there was one for the guy coming in.
Craig, the gold at the end of Hoda's rainbow.
Nice.
How sweet is that?
I'm going to save this one for Monday.
That's when Craig Melvin, today's longtime news anchor, slides in alongside Savannah Guthrie as today's new co-anchor.
You know, if you're going to lose your sister, Hoda, which is how we kind of feel about her, like it's great that the replacement is your brother.
Melvin's ascent to Studio 1A began in his hometown of Columbia, South Carolina.
There's only so much we can squeeze in this morning.
And from that NBC station,
glad to have you with us. I'm Craig Melvin.
A move to the one in Washington, D.C. changed his life. It's where Melvin met and married colleague Lindsay Zarniak. And they've had two children, Delano and Sybil.
There was a bit of a paradigm shift.
Melvin's work in D.C. was also pivotal professionally, earning him a spot with the network in 2011 and one with the Today family in 2018.
The iconic spire collapsing in a fiery tangle.
He's covered major stories across the globe.
How long is it going to take to rebuild Notre Dame?
But brought a small-town perspective to his reporting.
Folks in this area also largely cut off.
Combined with his personal charms in the studio, Melvin was an easy choice for his new role.
You were literally made for this job.
Heartily endorsed by his colleagues.
This is one of the most popular decisions NBC News has ever made.
Now, Craig Melvin's ready.
Outside of getting married and having my children, this is the most excited I've probably ever been.
To get started. Mark Barger, NBC News.
Again, you can catch Craig Melvin's debut Monday morning right here on Coast TV. The Today Show starts at 7 a.m. right after Coast TV News Today, Paul.
All right, so we take a look at our Bay Health camera. We're going to stay very clear for us. Now, I want you to remind you that you can always catch up with your forecast by calling our number. It's 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away. Sponsored by the law offices of Bruxted, Mandales, and Federico. Okay, so ultimately, we're going to be dealing with cold conditions for this week. Temperatures are going to really bottom out for us for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, particularly in the morning hours, as we slip into the teens with the wind chill factor expected to fall into the single-digit category. So our projections for this month are indicating that you're going to need to continue to dress in multi-layers big time. So for our forecast for later tonight, we are expecting 22 degrees. We'll have mostly clear skies and very chilly for us because we'll have radiational cooling that will be happening with winds relatively light out of the west at about 2 to 5 miles per hour. Basically, we're looking at light winds. Tomorrow, on Monday, we're expecting partly sunny skies, but totally windy on top of that. Winds at about 10 to 20 miles per hour, possibly gusting up to 25 to 30. So that's going to be a cutting situation, making it feel that much worse. But then tomorrow's probably our warmest day because then we start chilling out after that. So, keep in mind that all we're going to continue to see is that ultimately we're going to have a good deal of sunshine for the rest of the work week, with temperatures staying in the 20s, actually. Here's a look at your 10-day forecast. We're going to drop from 44 down to 32 for Tuesday. Then we'll drop down to 18. We're going to go up. Now, remember, this is the high for the day. 32 is freezing. That's the high. Then we dip down to 16 degrees. For Thursday, 33, not much better than 25. Then we start warming up by the time we get to Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday, we anticipate a chance of scattered showers on both of those days. But then we go right back to being cold again right after that.
All right, Paul, thank you. And thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News after Sunday Night Football. For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app. We'll see you in just a few hours for Coast TV News Today, starting at 5 a.m. Have a great night.